I'll start from the start. My apologies. I've got apologies from Amanda. She's running a little bit late from another meeting. But I'll begin from the top.
I'm here, Paul.
Oh, great. Thanks, Amanda.
Yep, no worries.
So Amanda and I are very grateful to Ajmal and Margarita for facilitating this meeting and bringing you all together. And thank you for joining us wherever you are around the world. And thank you to your National Society for making you available to hear about some of the lessons we learnt in the year-long pilot of the International Volunteering Platform. We have about a half an hour presentation, and then we want to have about 25 minutes, half an hour of discussion. So I'll kick things off. This is what we want to run through. We'll give a bit of a background to the program. Our colleague from Crossworks, the platform provider, Doran, he will give a brief 5-minute demonstration of the platform, just so you get a sense of what it looks like and some of the functionality. And then we'll focus on the evaluation that was conducted in December of last year. The pilot ran all through 2018, and we'll summarise the evaluation about what happened and some key case studies, some insights that we gleaned from the evaluation, and then Amanda will facilitate a bit of a discussion about opportunities, and questions and discussions can come at the end. But if anything doesn't make sense throughout the presentation, feel free to interrupt and ask us. At the end of the presentation too, we're more than happy to make the slide deck available, as well as there's a summary of the evaluation that we're happy to send around, which has longer case studies and some more detail. So if we whip over anything that doesn't make complete sense, it may become clearer with the documents we send at the end. So I'll just begin. This is a bit of brief animation that describes the program. It gives a good 2-minute background to what the program is about.
Volunteering. It's at the heart of everything Red Cross and Red Crescent does. It's who we are. It's what we do. In fact, we've been doing it all over the world for over 100 years. There's a Red Cross or a Red Crescent National Society in 190 countries across the globe, making us a truly international volunteering movement. We know people out there have a lot to offer. They want to make a real difference. It's why we decided to come together and shake things up a bit to get the most out of our volunteering program. We wanted to completely reinvent the way we do international volunteering and bring our program into the 21st century. That's why we've developed a new online platform. Our new online platform connects our Red Cross and Red Crescent National Society partners in Asia Pacific with highly skilled volunteers across the region, allowing a multi-directional flow of volunteers, knowledge, and skills. We intentionally recruit volunteers from various strategic partner organizations to make new expertise and skill sets available to our National Society partners. Our highly skilled volunteers may come from different places and backgrounds, but they have a lot in common. They're self-aware, resilient, adaptable, culturally sensitive, and committed to sharing knowledge and skills. Through the online platform, volunteers can view and apply for available assignments, complete training modules, update skills and expertise, and update their availability, all with a unique volunteer profile. National societies can also search for available volunteers and approach them to collaborate on an assignment. Online roles range from small assignments requiring only a few hours to ongoing roles lasting up to 6 months. In-country roles combine online volunteering with an in-country placement of up to 3 months. Going online isn't the only thing that's changed. Our new program puts our National Society partners in Asia Pacific in the driver's seat, meaning they develop the assignments based on what their needs are. They recruit the volunteers, who are then accountable to them throughout the assignment. Volunteering assignments are designed to support National Society partners in meeting their unique challenges and contribute to strengthening their organization in these areas. So, whether you're a National Society partner, a volunteer, or a strategic partner, Our new online platform is a gateway to a truly bright future for Red Cross and Red Crescent international volunteering, all assisting our national society partners across the region to achieve their humanitarian goals. To volunteer, partner with us, or to find out more about the program, contact our international volunteering team.
So that, as I said, it gives a brief overview of the program. But the core component of the program is really the platform. The national societies interact with volunteers through the platform, and I'll hand you over to Doran to give a brief demonstration of the platform.
Thank you very much, Paul. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good. So I'll do a quick demo of the platform with the limited time we have. So first of all, there will be the login page. People would come here and register or log in if they had an account. And once they log in, the first thing they will get to is their profile page. I've selected one of the volunteers that got a good profile page. You can see that he's got a list of skills up to date. He's updated his information, both the background and motivation. And he even set up his availability of how much he would like to volunteer. Now, we take all of this information plus the resume that was uploaded into account, and I'll explain in a second why. We can also see what kind of assignments this specific volunteer have done, and also some feedback about what previous work he's done. And one of the things which is interesting in here that one of the tasks is private inquiry, which means he was requested directly from one of the national societies to help them. And I'll explain that further down the track. So once the volunteers have completed his profile, he will go into the assignment page where if any task is actually suitable for his skills, he doesn't have to go through the platform and search for it. It will automatically appear in his smart list right at the top. If any task will be later published and it will suit him, it will be targeted directly to him by an email saying a new assignment has just been published and it's suitable for you. Have a look, one click, and then he will get to the task page, which would look something like this. So the task page will have a title, a description, what kind of skills, the requirement, whether it's online or in country, how many hours, the effort to start, the end date. And then every volunteers will have the options to apply or have a discussion before, and I'll explain. In this example, there are several applications. I think there's about 7 of them. And you can see that every application can actually have a private discussion where you can have a chat with your application and ask questions and even have a little bit of a discussion about whether you want him or not. This is all very quick and easy to use. Another important thing to show is the recommendation. So the platform will automatically match the right people who are most suitable to the task and will allow you to start a conversation with them. So once someone was selected, like in this specific task, and here it's interesting because you can see that, 3 people have applied for this task. And all of them actually got accepted to the task. So if you look at the participant list up in here, you see Liz, Kelsey, and Mitchell. And that will actually suit all 3 guys. So in this case, we took all the applicants and put them in a task that was well defined by a work plan. As you can see, everything was completed. And you can see the online collaboration. This guy actually had the discussions in here, and they shared files which are captured, and reviews and feedbacks for all the assignees are also captured in here. So what really it shows that this platform does the whole end-to-end solution for the onboarding, the selection, the matching, and the actual delivery. One more thing I like to show is what we call the who's available. So every volunteer can actually register how much availability he has. He can start an end date, and then everyone in the national societies can search this register available person and inquire if they would like to help in any case. This relates back to the example I gave with the first volunteer who was contacted by one of the national societies from the Philippines in that example, and he actually did a short online a bit of support for one of those. So in here I've discussed about the two major ways to connect with volunteers. One is by posting the assignments, and it would match and people would then apply to it. And the second option is actually looking at the register of people who are willing and wants to apply but didn't find anything suitable at the moment, and they can be contacted directly. That was just under the 731. Any questions? I probably should have mentioned one more thing. Once a task is published, we can also be shared by social networks. And I could have posted it into my Facebook account for promotion. So it does link into all the social media if you want to promote it in various social media.
So are there any questions? Thank you, Doran, very much for that very speedy demonstration of the platform. We could go on for the whole hour about the platform, but if you have any questions, I suppose technical questions about the platform functionality, then now is a good time to ask Doran, because he'll be leaving us in a couple of minutes. So we can have any questions about the program more generally at the end, but if you have questions about the platform, now is the time to ask them. Okay, I'll take that silence as the fact you did a great job of the demonstration, Doran, and thanks for joining us.
Just as a comment, I think that in the evaluation report, and when we've discussed this previously, Paul, came the concept of the issues of the cost of the platform. And like we discussed, I think that if we look further and into some of the details that we could have done, because we haven't done a proper investigation into, we could actually reach a much better pricing, especially taking the event that the Red Cross is a not-for-profit organization, and we can probably partner with people like cloud services like AWS to get much better pricing, so to make the platform more affordable. And as you know, once the platform scale up, the price will significantly reduce the volunteers. So I just wanted to make that comment regarding availability and affordability, that please feel free to contact me to see how we can work to make it better, because at the bottom lines, Red Cross is a not-for-profit, and it's not at all a way we want to make our profit, and we really want to partner up with the Red Cross, and our dream is to see a whole 190 countries with more than 1 million volunteers in a platform such as this, share and work across the globe and helping for such a good cause.
So thanks, Doran. As Doran said, one of the evaluations finding was about the cost, and we'll cover that a bit later. But it's good to know that Crossworks can negotiate on the price and bring it down a bit. So thanks for joining us, Doran, and we'll carry on with the rest of the meeting now.
Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Okay, so now on to the evaluation, and that's where we'll take the rest of the meeting. So what happened over the course of the year is 28 out of the 33 assignments were filled, and it involved 38 volunteers in total. Of the 28 filled assignments, 20 of them were online, which were all firsts for us, and 8 of them were in country. 13 of the 28 were peer-to-peer assignments within the Red Cross, Red Crescent movement. 6 of the assignments were group assignments where, as Doran showed one of the examples there, where 2 or more volunteers collaborated to complete the assignment.
Sorry, Paul, you're not sharing your screen. I don't know if... Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
That's my mistake. Thanks for the heads up, Margarita. Is that working now?
Yes, it's working now.
Okay. I won't cover those points again, but they were just about the number of assignments that were filled and the ratio of online to in-country. 220 volunteers registered in the platform, but the platform has unlimited capacity for volunteers, and 10 volunteers also were involved, or interns were involved, managing the program from Australia. So it was just myself as the only paid staff member for most of the time. And then we had 10 volunteers supporting me. The national societies who received volunteers was the Australian Red Cross, the Cook Islands, Mongolian Red Cross, Nepal Red Cross, Philippine Red Cross, Vietnam Red Cross Society, Vanuatu Red Cross Society, Solomon Islands, and a few other national societies were also involved, but didn't receive volunteers. And we also had 4 IFRC officers around the world who received volunteers. So they were in Cox's Bazar, the humanitarian response there. We had some volunteers supporting that response. The country cluster support team in Fiji for the Pacific. Alex Torres in the North Pacific, the sub-office up there, also had some volunteers. As well as the APRO office in Kuala Lumpur. And the areas that the assignments were in general just national society development, and those areas are listed there. The first case study that I'll cover, and I'll whip through these quickly. As I said, they'll be in the slide deck at the end, but there was a lot of evidence from the evaluation about the strength of the peer-to-peer relationship of the platform. So Sagar from the Nepal Red Cross Society volunteered with the Asia Pacific Migration Network for 6 months. It included 1 month in-country placement at Australian Red Cross, and the rest of the time, 5 months, was online remote volunteering. He developed a migration toolkit, and that's been an example for other national societies who have adopted it, who are going to, consider how they take on the migration agenda of the Red Cross movement. So that was one case study that was a great success. The next one was about 10 university students got credit towards their postgraduate master's degrees for doing volunteer work. And this is one example of 4 master's students from the University of Melbourne volunteering under the remote supervision of the Vanuatu Red Cross to do a review of fundraising and income generating activities to improve the financial sustainability of the Red Cross. And I think the benefit is twofold here, that the volunteers got to do a real life example, as that quote kind of exemplifies. So it rather than doing a made-up kind of university assignment, their university assignment was based in the reality of this non-for-profit of the Vanuatu Red Cross. And the benefit also to the Vanuatu Red Cross is they got not just 4 master's students, but also a professor of business from the Melbourne University to look over the students' work and give them advice about financial sustainability and fundraising strategies, different ways they could start small and medium enterprises. So the report was used to advise their board about future business development and fundraising activities.
Hey, Paul, sorry for interrupting, but you have a question in the chat.
Okay.
If the platform can operate in multiple languages, in Arabic?
Yes, it can. So the platform uses a Google Translate plugin. Because we're in Asia Pacific, we didn't really get to test that out in the pilot, but Crossworks and Doran can answer more questions about that. But we, during the testing phase of the platform, before we had any real assignments in there, we tested with French and a few other languages. So any language that Google can translate into, the platform translates into. So that's a really good example.
Yeah, there's another question. How adaptable is this platform to other regions? As we in the Africa region are keen on this, and we have our initiative along the same lines. Mhm.
Yeah, so it's adaptable to any context, I think, and even to different internet speeds. We tested it out in the Solomon Islands, which has the slowest internet in Asia Pacific, and there's a light version of the platform that works really well. But the way the program was set up was it was decentralized. Each national society controlled what was posted from their national society. They controlled the applications. They did the interview. Any national society from any region, I think, including those in Africa. The Ethiopian Red Cross have had a relatively good look at the platform, and similarly, the South Sudanese Red Cross were looking at posting an opportunity for a little while. The next case study that Doran spoke about in the demonstration, so I won't dwell on it too much, is flipping the relationship between a volunteer applicant, and a national society, where the national society can actually just tap a volunteer on the shoulder or headhunt a volunteer based on their skills or their availability. And so they can look through a list of volunteers who are available and create a private assignment where they don't have to post a position description. So this is useful for small tasks that leverage really high quality expertise, and it takes away some of the kind of HR burden of filling out an assignment description and posting that, which can be kind of cumbersome if you're only after a small task. The fourth case study, the final case study that we'll talk about is online volunteering. And in particular, as I mentioned before, how remote and online volunteers can support a humanitarian response. And this was, and there's a really detailed case study that will come in the slide deck about the program monitoring, evaluation and learning delegate in Cox's Bazar, who used multiple volunteers to support his work because he was really under the pump doing a lot of M&E work, as you can imagine, in the Cox's Bazar response. So he utilized a few remote volunteers with master's degrees to support him with analyzing data, report writing, editing, programming surveys, and you get around, because it's remote volunteering, you get around the risks of deploying a volunteer to a humanitarian response. Cognizant of the time, and we've probably got about 5 or 10 minutes left, but these are the key insights from the evaluation. So what the evaluation found is that the program facilitated unique experiences and facilitated expertise learning and skill sharing between volunteers and national societies. It found that it took a while for national societies to feel comfortable with the online platform, but after they were comfortable, there was, there's promise for momentum and scale for online volunteering in the movement. The peer-to-peer aspect of the model, as I mentioned earlier, aligns strongly with the localization agenda. And the evaluation found, in regards to the program effectiveness, it found that the program was able to recruit a diverse range of volunteers due to the peer-to-peer assignments, as well as online volunteering, which removes some barriers for volunteering, like cost, ability to take time off work, those sorts of things. It removes the geographic barrier as well, and the need to travel. The evaluation also found that the shorter assignment length, so in the past, Australian Red Cross has done 12 to 24-month volunteer assignments, so shortening that to a couple of weeks or 3 months or 6 months was the maximum, allowed for discrete pieces of work to be done at the discretion of the National Society, where the National Society owned the project and they were bringing in technical expertise. And the National Societies found the work of each of the 38 volunteers beneficial, to varying degrees, of course. key insights about localization was that the program design was really about localization. We didn't want to control the HR processes from Australia, so we disseminated those and supported national societies to choose their candidates, to manage them in the way that they wanted, to give them feedback and review, and that's what the platform provides. It also, the platform or the evaluation found that the program aligns with the localization principles in that report, that's kind of a seminal localization report for our region. The peer-to-peer aspect of the international volunteering program was a big enabler for localization and enabled an open dialogue between all national societies where we treated each other as equals. And a big part of that was the International Volunteering Program reference group. However, one of the critiques of the program is that more time, as with all of these programs, more time was needed to implement like a truly co-designed process. And that balance wasn't struck as well as it could have been. I think, we could talk about that more in the questions if anyone has questions about that piece of feedback. Perhaps the biggest flaw of the program, or the thing that we struggled with most, is finding a funding sustainability. So we went with a corporate and university partnership model where we wanted to get some insight, or we wanted to get some signals that corporates and universities would be willing to pay a subscription fee to have access to the platform through their corporate social responsibilities. And this report found that it's highly unlikely that we'd be able to become financially self-sustainable through that. And that, as a result, a new business model would need to be developed. And we would need to look for alternative funding sources and cost sharing with movement partners or other partners. And while national societies acknowledge online volunteering is cheaper and more flexible, there's still a need for in-country assignments in some instances. Not all things can be done remotely, as like that. I think that goes without saying. I'll hand it over to Amanda now, because she's really the business expert, and I'm a bit out of my depth when I talk about financial sustainability. So I'll hand you over to Amanda for the final part of the presentation.
Paul, I think that's very kind of you to describe me as the business expert. Just checking that everyone can hear me okay. Paul, can you hear me, just to confirm?
Yes, I can, yep.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm assuming everyone else can. So yes, I think Paul's absolutely right in that our assumptions around the business model for this program were not necessarily flawed, but I guess were unsubstantiated. And that when we did go out to market, and my sort of background in this space also indicates that there's both a lack of appetite from the corporate sector in particular to pay for programs and platforms like this. And if there was to be enough, it's a very long lead time to get them to the point where they might pay. So I think some of our assumptions around having that source of income into the program in order to help fund it were unfounded. So hence our learning around the commercial model as we had originally described it wasn't sound. And as I think we've already indicated, the platform is quite costly to run for one national society. When we think about the number of people that were actually active in the platform, it didn't really stack up from a numbers perspective. So you know, this creating this network effect and getting the people both on the sort of supply and demand side of the volunteering marketplace to work effectively and create a real platform that generates value is time consuming and costly, and that we hadn't really factored for how long that it would actually take to get it happening. We do feel potentially that the product market fit was misaligned. So when we set out to undertake this program, it was around how do we strengthen national societies, how do we bring our influence as a national society to help begin to create these connections between partner national societies. But actually, the way the platform was designed and the way the business model was designed isn't necessarily support that. So I think in terms of our sort of recommendations and where do we go next around opportunities is really to start to unpack some of that and to go back to the drawing board and think around what is the intent of this product, and how would we actually build the product to better align with the market, and then the business models that sit around that, so that we could be self-sustaining. Thanks, Paul. So then I guess around the opportunities that we see, I think we're all in agreement that there's value that's been created, and particularly around that sort of peer-to-peer support. So national societies supporting other national societies, and that the opportunities that an online platform presents, particularly in terms of the remote volunteering, is potentially significant. And again, that's something for us to look at into the future. But that, you know, we really need to take some of the insights, go back to the drawing board a little bit around how we design that for that, with that purpose in mind, and then to explore other or alternative business models. So some of the things that we've started to think through is what's the appetite for corporates, academic institutions to come together in terms of maybe more of a sponsorship model, but also looking at maybe a user pays model could be another alternative. So this is where, you know, national societies might pay to post up an opportunity. All of these remain opportunities to be explored into the future as something that, you know, could be considered if as a movement we were to continue to invest in this platform, this project. Okay, so Paul, is that as far where we wanted to get to in terms of handing over for discussion?
I think so, yeah. Unless you have had anything else, I think it's a fair bit of information we've given people. But so I wonder, are there any questions or any points of discussion?
I think there's a question in the chat from Andrew. He's asking, how can we upload, migrate the existing data into this platform?
Andrew. Upload, migrate existing data. So it does read like Excel spreadsheets, CSV files as well. They can be uploaded. I'm not sure what kind of data you're talking about, Andrew. If you could elaborate.
And then there's also another question from Ian. Do you evaluate other platforms when you first starting out?
So before we started out, the organisation looked at 3 different options. One was to kind of develop our own in-house, and we looked at using UN volunteers instead of this platform, just creating like a Red Cross sandbox, if you will, within UN volunteers. But it was decided that we'd go with this platform. A corporate partner of Australian Red Cross had already developed the product for the corporate sector for engineering firms. Worley Parsons is an engineering firm, so it was used for them to for different offices of their business to trade skills and expertise. But they had billable hours and everything. So it involved about a month or 2 months of editing the platform to make it fit for non-for-profits. But yes, we did look at a couple of other platforms, and this seemed the most cost-effective and our kind of product design team within Australian Red Cross couldn't develop this kind of platform within the time frame we needed. So we went externally. In regards to the question about volunteer data, I'm not sure how useful it would be to import all 11 million or whatever, however many volunteers the movement has in, but rather currently the way the platform is used is to partner with expertise that we wouldn't be able to get through our current volunteer database. So it's to expand our volunteer database, really. That's not to say that we wouldn't let people who are already volunteering with Australian Red Cross join or other national societies, but to partner with a university in Spain, for example, would garner new volunteers and new expertise that we might not be able to reach otherwise. And so it's we could import some data of volunteers, yes, and it has that capability. But I think the platform is best to reach corporates and universities and other volunteering or other parts of the community where we don't already have relationships. So in short, Andrew, we could import data, yes, but I'm not sure if we want to import it all. Solomon's question there, can this model be introduced in the IFRC FedNet as part of the Strategy 2030? I know those conversations are live about Strategy 2030. I'm sure we've all heard about them, and I think some form of online volunteering platform needs to be part of the IFRC. Yes, whether it's this one or not is a question for the IFRC. But really, online volunteering, we need to move with the times with this, and I think, and I do think it should definitely be part of Strategy 2030. Yes. There is a particular advantage as well. We've said a couple of times the platform costs a bit if it's one national society paying, but if multiple were to contribute or the IFRC were to fund it, the cost benefits shared across all national societies. I know 190 wouldn't use this platform, but even if 50 or 60 or 100 national societies were to use it, the cost shared would be less of a burden, obviously. So I think incorporating it as part of Strategy 2030 is a good idea. But like I said, whether this platform's the best is a question for the IFRC or for other national societies.
Sorry, may I ask something?
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry about this, and I'm not really sure if you have answered the question because I could hear some bleeping sometimes. But it's basically just to know, is there any way, as far as I understand it, and with regards to Andrew's question, I in a way I think that volunteers are able to upload their own competencies and skills. So it's a way to have both systems running parallel. So we have a database at the moment based on Oracle in Spain at Spanish Red Cross. We would use that one, and we could use this platform, for instance, for those volunteers who are probably younger or who are more internet oriented. So they can upload their skills and they can upload the availability and everything. So both systems could run parallelly. But my question is there any way that we could contrast the skills that volunteers are stating in the platform to make sure that those skills are right?
Yes, so there's a couple of ways we could do it. You could, I'm not sure if it's common to use LinkedIn, but you could link it with LinkedIn. Another way that we explored during the pilot that I know is possible through Crossworks is a where you vouch for someone else's skills like LinkedIn does. But also the platform does speak to other platforms. So it can send APIs, which are pings to existing databases or existing volunteer management systems. for example, to red flag a volunteer who may have some who may not be suitable to volunteer anymore for whatever reason. The platform can send a ping to another platform to pick up that kind of data. Any other kind of really technical questions about what it can and can't do, I've kind of been advised that it's quite a state-of-the-art company managing the platform, so that they can do anything the Red Cross wants is what they've told us. So I would say and I'm happy to share Doran's contact details with the group at the end of the meeting. You can approach him directly and ask him any questions about it. But to answer Daisy's question, is it accessible on other devices? So there is a mobile version, a light version. There's not an application yet, but if the Red Cross wanted, then Crossworks could develop an app. But there is a light version where the dimensions of the screen all fit in neatly to your mobile or tablet. That was part of the testing that we did way back in 2017. And I'm not sure. So will the pilot be continued? So that's a really good question that Amanda's probably better placed to answer. But the short answer is no. We're not looking at continuing. We're looking at exiting the program.
Yeah. Do you want me to speak to that, Paul? So, yes, thank you for that question. It is a pilot and we are exiting, as Paul said. As Australian Red Cross, where the strategic focus of the Volunteering Directorate is around sort of the volunteer and how we build for scale, and allowing sort of volunteers to participate in humanitarian action which wherever and however they choose. So our focus is on a number of other initiatives, and hence we are exiting this program in Australia. That said, as we said, there's lots of great learnings and insights, and hence why we wanted to share that with the wider group to see whether there was any interest in sort of picking it up from this point and exploring the opportunities for further development. But as Australian Red Cross, we won't be continuing the pilot past the end of March.
Yeah, I think Amanda summed it up really well, that Australian Red Cross's decision not to continue with it isn't about the findings from the evaluation. The evaluation was really positive, except that it couldn't be financially self-sustainable, which was one of the core outcomes. So for one national society to fund it, we couldn't continue it by ourselves. The other thing that plays into this decision is that originally this program was part of our international program, so our international development arm, and recently the international programs team decided that it should leave all national society development work up to the IFRC, so that Australian Red Cross will continue to fund NSD work through the IFRC, but it's better to have one kind of coordinator as the IFRC, and this program is squarely kind of aimed at national society development, as Amanda said. It's not about getting huge numbers of volunteers out the door. It's about getting highly skilled volunteers for short to medium term contracts, 3-6 months maybe. While it does have the functionality that you can have a shorter task, our national societies were wanting a longer commitment. So since the program has moved into volunteering, as Amanda said, it's not really designed for the volunteer as much as it is for the national society to benefit. So it's a good question about the IFRC picking it up. I think, as with all questions, and maybe Ajmal is better placed to answer this, I think it's about funding. Ajmal, do you want to answer? Do you want to talk about the IFRC's plans in this regard? I'm not sure.
Sure. Well, just very, very briefly, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Paul and Amanda, for the great presentation. I think, I mean, we can really see that it does hold a lot of potential. Just to kind of quickly answer, I mean, as you said, it is really about the resources needed to keep it going. Unfortunately, at the moment, we don't have, but I think what would be interesting is to see if there's other national societies these days who would be interested to come together and resource the platform that could be a feasibility. So I think, I mean, if the Spanish Red Cross, for example, are interested in contributing towards that, we can find a few national societies um, together with, as you said, the academic partners within national societies, corporations, etc. That could be something we could look into if there is interest.
Yeah, certainly. And I think Doran's message too is a new one about them willing to negotiate on price. So I think if other national societies, as Ajmal said, were willing to come together and talk about sharing the costs of a platform like this, it does make a lot of sense. That they have told me in conversations outside of here that they're willing to reduce the costs of the platform by 50 to 80%. They just want to keep their kind of corporate social responsibility intact, and most of their profit comes from engineering firms, and so they're willing to negotiate on price. So I'm happy to hand over those relationships to Ajmal and to others that are interested, and you can liaise directly with Crosswork. Because to be honest, they've been really great to deal with. They've bent over backwards for us and have been really accommodating. Not sure. Are there any other questions?
Yes, we are recording this meeting, and it will be shared after. Someone asked in the chat if we will be recording, if we are recording the meeting.
Yeah, we'll make sure to send out to all the Alliance members. I mean, unfortunately, we have a lot of people in Americas that can attend, and there has been a lot of interest in that. So we will make sure to share it out wide. And I'll share your contacts as well, Paul and Amanda, if you don't mind, if others want to continue the conversations together with us.
Yes, please do. Yeah, we'd be more than happy for that. And I suppose just on behalf of Australian Red Cross and Amanda and myself, thanks Ajmal and Margarita again for the invitation and for providing the WebEx software and everything. We've it's been really great to share the learnings, and if anyone has questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them offline, and I'll endeavour perhaps by the end of the hour, Ajmal, I'll get you the slide deck and some other things that you can send out with the recording.
That would be great. Thank you so much. And thank you all for participating. I hope there is interest, and I hope we'll continue the conversation. I don't know if Solomon would like to say a word. I know that Solomon from Ethiopia Red Cross, it was probably one of the national societies outside of the Asia Pacific region who actually received a volunteer from Australia. I'm just wondering if you would like to say a few words about the experience, maybe. If not, we can have it in writing, and I can share it with all of you later on. But thank you again very much, Paul and Amanda. As I said, I will share the links to you all after the call, and please feel free to share it widest with our interested national societies or partners that you have.
Absolute pleasure, and yes, thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you. Have a lovely weekend, everyone.
Thank you so much. Have a great time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.